So yesterday we got one of the biggest content drops of every year in MLB The Show. We got the All-Star Game content drop, and in that we got 30 Team Affinity cards that are part of this monster of a collection that I completed last night. Today we're going to be putting all 30 of the Team Affinity All-Star cards on a tier list, so let's get into it. So starting off with the D tier, we have Yusei Kikuchi, Mackenzie Gore, Matthew Boyd, Robbie Ray, Shane Smith, and Hunter Goodman. So starting off with the D tier, we have Yusei Kikuchi. It's nothing against the guy. He's had a pretty respectable career. He's made a couple All-Star teams, I'm pretty sure. But his cards are never really that good in MLB The Show. Four seam, slider, circle change, 12-6. I hate the 12-6. It only works if it's really slow, like Kershaw's 12-6. If it's just a regular curveball, it's just not good. Sinker is also, helpful, but he doesn't have velo, doesn't have anything that really wows you. Mackenzie Gore is eerily similar to the Yusei Kikuchi card. He has better Ks per 9, he has a better pitch mix, but ultimately he also has that 12-6 that I just don't like. And he only has 87 pitching clutch in mid-July. Like, that's just not good enough for the power creep right now. If you want to talk about bad clutch ratings, Matthew Boyd has 78 clutch, and even without looking at that, 77 control, 76 velo, and his per 9s being 91 hits per 9, 86 Ks per 9 is just not good enough for this stage of the game. The fourth pitcher in the D tier is Robbie Ray. He's had a great season, and while he has really good clutch at 120, nothing else is really that spectacular. Sure, he'll have smaller PCIs with that clutch and 106 hits per 9. But that's pretty much all he brings. I mean, he has no velo. He doesn't have a good pitch mix. The control is decent, and the break is pretty bad. But there's just nothing that screams, I need this Robbie Ray in my rotation. Now, this Shane Smith is actually not that bad, and ultimately, I mean, whoever the White Sox All-Star was kind of destined for D tier. And this isn't a bad card at all. He's probably the best card in the D tier, in all honesty, but he's still just not on the same par as these other starters. Sure, has a solid pitch mix, but again, the 12-6, I just don't like it. And the 104 pitching clutch does help with the 99 hits per 9. But outside of that, doesn't really wow you with anything. Doesn't throw insanely hard. I mean, he throws 96. But again, there are better starters. And then lastly, we have Hunter Saul Goodman. That's what I call him. But regardless, it's a little unfair to put him in D tier because there isn't one thing that he's terrible at on offense. Doesn't have good discipline or vision. But unless you're playing on Legend or even maybe Hall of Fame, it's not that big of a deal. And he already has good contact versus righties and maxed out clutch. It's just the fact that I think that there are better hitters across the Team Affinity, and that it is what it is. I think that the other catcher in the Team Affinity is better, which we'll get into later. But ultimately, Hunter Goodman still a solid card. Moving up to the C tier, we have Ryan O'Hearn, Alejandro Kirk, Freddie Peralta, Chris Bubich, Max Fried, and Steven Kwan. Starting off the C tier, we have Ryan O'Hearn from the Orioles. He destroys righties. He's serviceable against lefties, 94-75, but it just comes to a point where you have better cards that are that good against one side and better against the weak side like O'Hearn is here. He's not bad defensively, 85 fielding. He has good enough speed for the outfield, but that arm is just atrocious if you want to put him in the outfield. This will be most people will use him at first, but if you use him at first, like there's so many other first basemen in Team Affinity that are better, but I don't think he's terrible. Here's the other catcher in the Team Affinity I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Hunter Goodman. I would take Alejandro Kirk over Hunter Goodman. He's so much better defensively. Yeah, he doesn't have a good arm, but he has better contact, better vision, worse clutch, and worse power. But ultimately, I think those power numbers, and I think the power and the arm and the discipline are basically like each of them is taking him down a tier. The power is taking him down a tier, the discipline is taking him down a tier, and the arm is taking him down a tier to C tier. I thought about putting Freddie Peralta in the D tier, but I ended up moving him up to C tier. I think he's a little better. He has the clutch that most of the guys besides Robbie Ray, don't have. And I think that helps him a lot, but overall, just still not amazing. I think that he's definitely the worst player in the C tier and had a really strong case for D tier. I just think all those other guys were more deserving of D tier, in all honesty, but still, he won't be anything special. Chris Bubich has had a phenomenal year for the Royals. This card is much better than all the other D tier pitchers. He has a better pitch mix, four-seam sweeper, circle change, slider, sinker. He has pretty good control, insane break on those top three pitches. He has 102 hits per nine, 97 clutch. The velo is what makes this card not as good. There are a few issues. The velocity isn't good. The speed differentials is an even bigger issue. 84, 85, 86 between those three pitches. It's not good enough, and the 90 Ks per nine could be a little higher. But overall, he won't be terrible. As much as I didn't want to do this as a Yankees fan, Max Fried is going to go in the C tier. Now, this card is good, but he's just not as good as the other starters. And for that reason, he's in the C tier. He has good hits per nine, good walks per nine, good pitching clutch. Even though the walks per nine stat is actually irrelevant, it's relevant towards overall building for like roster updates and for card construction. But that rating doesn't do anything. It's the individual pitch control ratings that matter more. And yeah, he has great control on cutter, sinker, four seam. But, he has a good pitch mix, cutter, sinker, curve, four seam sweeper. Good hits per nine and clutch, but the Ks per nine is just really bad at 79. You're not gonna be able to strike out anyone with this Max Fried card. And then lastly, we have Steven Kwan. I've never been able to hit well with Steven Kwan cards, and his power numbers just really hold him back in this class of Team Affinity cards. 80-52 is just not going to get it done, in my opinion. Yeah, like, he is a contact hitter. We all know that, and contact hitters can be good in this game. But when you compare this card against guys who have that contact and better power, great. Sure, he has great defense, but the only thing he's elite at is contact, right, and clutch. Next up for the B tier, we have Alex Bregman, Matt Olson, Kyle Stowers, Joe Ryan, Pete Alonso, and Brendan Donovan. Starting off the B tier, we have Alex Bregman. I was originally going to put him in the A tier, but I had to knock someone down to B tier, and it was unfortunately for Bregman himself. This is probably the best card in the B tier, although these cards are pretty good. 100, 125 contact, 109, 77 power, 103 clutch. Gold defense, can play third, second, and short. This card has a ton of value. He can hit both sides. He has good clutch. He can play three positions well. Well, he won't have a great arm at third or short, but he can play three positions with gold defense and can hit both sides. That'll bring value in any card. Matt Olson has had a great season for the underperforming Atlanta Braves, who are hosting the All-Star game this year. He was just added to the Home Run Derby to replace Acuna, who had tightness in his hamstring, I think. But overall, this is a pretty balanced card. On offense, great numbers. 100, 110 contact, 101, 95 power, 113 clutch. That's great. And he has great defense. Has a terrible arm. Doesn't matter. He plays first. I just think there are better options, in all honesty. This card is a great card, but there are better cards. I gotta say, Kyle Stowers, his swing is butter. I was using a lot of these Team Affinity cards in the mini season to, just because I wanted to try all these cards out because a lot of these aren't going to make my team. And Kyle Stowers was one of my favorites. He had a great swing, great power right, great contact left. He's going to be able to hit both sides. He'll hit the right side for power. He'll hit the left side for average. He has silver defense, so he won't be terrible. He has a great arm for the outfield too, and good enough speed for the outfield. It's just obvious. It's obvious why this card is B tier. He's a great hitter, but he still has holes. Power left, vision, discipline, fielding could be better still. So, B tier. Joe Ryan has really been an underrated pitcher for the Twins for a while now, and this card is probably underrated as well. Four-seam splitter, sweeper, sinker, slider, good pitch mix, insane control. That is really rare to see on a starter, and really good break as well. He could, his velocity is lacking a little, but everything else besides Ks per nine he has. It's going to be hard to strike people out because that Ks per nine is low, but it's not as bad as the Max Fried, and he has a better pitch mix than Max Fried, so he's going to be a tier above him. Pete Alonso is another guy who I've just never been able to hit with in MLB The Show for some reason, but I can't take that away from the card. 114, 90 contact, 105, 102 power, 125 clutch. The defense is just pitiful, and I know it doesn't matter nearly as much for first baseman as it does for all the other positions, but when you're ranking cards, you have to take it into account, and that's going to hold him back. Brendan Donovan is the last player in the B tier, and this guy is the ultimate utility card. 125, 100 contact, 90, 85 power, with 105 vision, 110 clutch. He'll have silver defense at 6 positions. Yeah, That brings so much value to this card, but nothing else really wows me besides the contact right, obviously it being maxed out. This card reminds me of the Alec Burleson card from the June Spotlight program, obviously with much better defense and flexibility. But yeah, I think that if he had better discipline and better fielding, he would be probably S tier, in all honesty. Moving up to the A tier, we have Brandon Lau, Riley Green, Jeremy Pena, Jacob Wilson, Eugenio Suarez, and Freddie Freeman. Now here's a guy who I love using his cards in MLB The Show, Brandon Lau. He is one of the most underrated players in the MLB every single year, and this card is a beast. 120, 117 versus right, 80 contact left does hold him back, 102 power left, vision and discipline aren't great, 120 clutch helps him a ton versus lefties, defensively not the best. If he had better defense and reasonable contact left, this is easily an S tier. Next up, we have Riley Green from the Tigers. He destroys righties, 119, 125. We don't have many cards with 125 power versus right, and he also has 119 contact right. That alone shoots you up, and I think he's serviceable against lefties. The contact is 96, good. 84 power, not the best, but the clutch helps him, and he's a gold defender in the outfield. I think if he was better against lefties, he'd be in the S tier. Now, Jeremy Pena cards, I haven't really used often, but I gotta say, this card, I have him in A tier because he brings everything to the table. He brings contact, clutch, power. Power could be a little better, but he brings it to the table. He meets the 80 power threshold versus both sides. Defense is in the gold, and that 99 speed. When you have everything above average and being good, that's a valuable card. Jacob Wilson is probably the S tier contact hitter, but as an overall card, I'll put him in the A tier just because of the power and the discipline. But I mean, he's going to get so many hits for you. 113, 125 contact, 115 vision, 125 clutch, and he's a pretty good defender. He'll be silver. If you get him P3, he'll be gold. He already has a good arm. This is a very valuable, one of the best contact hitters in the game, in all honesty. This Eugenio Suarez card is eerily similar to the Brandon Lau. Very good power, 117, 125 power with 103 contact right, 81 contact left. Certainly hurts this card. 113 clutch helps him. This is pretty much a carbon copy of the Brandon Lau. A little better defense on Eugenio Suarez, but overall, A tier for sure. And then lastly, in the A tier, we have Freddie Freeman from the Dodgers. 125, 100 contact, 125 clutch. That's great. Power could be better, but still good, 86, 92. He actually doesn't have terrible vision and discipline like all these other cards, and he's not a terrible defender. He'll be silver defense. But overall, I think that the contact left through discipline is holding him back from S tier, but it's still good, so A tier. And then lastly, in the S tier, we have Andres Munoz, Zach Wheeler, Paul Skeens, Ellie De La Cruz, Jacob deGrom, and Jason Adam. Starting off the S tier, this wouldn't be a tier list without all the relievers in S tier. This Andres Munoz card is disgusting. Slider, four-seam sinker, circle change, outlier on the four-seam. Okay, wrong tab. Yeah, outlier on the four-seam, maxed out hits per 9 and pitching clutch. The control is there for his top 3 pitches, and the break is there for all 4. This card does not lack in one category. The only thing that this card lacks in is the control on the circle change. He has literally everything else. That is the definition of an S tier. Zach Wheeler has had cards in the past that have been solid but not insane because his pitch mix has been kind of weird in the past. Not this card. This card has everything. Four-seam sinker, sweeper, cutter, splitter. That's the best pitch mix we've ever had on a Zach Wheeler card. Control is very good. Break is pretty solid. He does not have outlier, but he has break outlier, has the hits per 9, has the clutch, has the velo, has the speed differentials. Yeah, the Ks per 9 is a little low, but everything else is great. I really wanted Paul Skeens to get a sinker when I made that video that you guys loved. Thank you for the support on that video from the other day when I predicted all the Team Affinity cards, and they gave it to him. Four-seam, splitter, sweeper, Vulcan change, sinker. If only they just got rid of the changeup and made that like a slider, because he does throw a slider, but I'd much rather have the sinker than the slider, and they gave him the sinker, which helps this card a ton. He, of course, is going to have double outlier on the four-seam and the splitter. This card is amazing. 107 hits per 9, 110 clutch, throws super hard, great pitch mix. The control is pretty good, the break is there. The Ks per 9 is also low at 86, but everything else is just too good to take him outside of the S tier. Now, Elly De La Cruz cards are typically not this balanced. They're typically more dominant against righties and not that good against lefties. But Elly De La Cruz is great against both sides. As a switch hitter, in the 100s across the board, 110 clutch. The defense is a little underwhelming, but 99 arm strength helps with that. Very good running the bases, can also play third. I think that we all know that this card deserves S tier. Jacob deGrom, I was thinking about putting in A tier, but I think he's going to be S tier. He does not have outlier like the Egg Hunt card does, but he has everything else. 4-seam slider, circle change, slurve, 2-seam. That's a pretty good pitch mix. Could be a little better, but it's good. The control is insane. The break is very good outside of the 2-seam, but no one ever uses the 2-seam. He has good hits per 997. He has a 111 clutch. Though he does lack stamina a little. There's a little sneak peek at an investment if you're still watching this video. So those of you who are loyal, right there. But anyway, Jacob deGrom, I think, is S tier because he throws really hard even without outlier. He has a good pitch mix. He has good control. He has good hits per 9 and good clutch. And then lastly, for the S tier, we have Jason Adam. And I thought about it, and I was like, does he really deserve S tier? Yeah, he does. I mean, 118, 112 per 9s, 125 clutch. He doesn't throw very hard, but he has a really good pitch mix, and he throws actually decently hard on the 4-seam. The control is there for the top 3 pitches. The break is there for the top 4 pitches. Just don't throw the cutter too much, and this card will be great. So yeah, that's going to be for this video. If you guys are new here, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. But most importantly, make sure you subscribe right here on YouTube. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.